Good morning to you all. Good morning. And good morning to everybody who are hooked up to the television or who are hooked up to the network of computer, listening to this personal link of mind. It's been a while since I've had a chance, an opportunity to do the personal link. And in this time I want to really take the opportunity to thank everybody for being such a wonderful Dhamma practitioners. We all, from our own side, we feel we often have failed as a Dhamma practitioner, but nonetheless we have trumped. And I think this dichotomy of thinking that you have failed as a Dhamma practitioner, but nonetheless you have trumped, is a very healthy check and balance of one's own ego, an ego that which is always, generally speaking, whenever it is able to achieve anything, or whenever it is able to do something that is plausible, that is congratulable, or that is something what impresses others, it almost immediately wants to, regardless of whether you have worked on a good intention, regardless of whether you have hold on to a good status of integrity of continuously holding on to the good intention and good heart. Whenever there isn't any good work done, the ego immediately wants to claim it to be yours. And when we are not conscious of that, when we identify ourselves with the ego or the self grows. And that self has been growing for countless of lifetimes, and it still grows. And when it grows, what in the end result it becomes is that you become much more of a victim of its side effects of growing larger and larger and larger, regardless of whether you have done something negative that is to hurt and harm others and hurt yourself, which is sort of a cause and effect, which is really a basic kind of a cause and effect. So in that, there's the understanding that okay, you've been selfish and you did something wrong to hurt others, and you have done something wrong to hurt yourself, therefore, and then the consequences of that has just came to be apparent and clear. This kind of a math, this kind of a cause and effect is even understood by the birds. This kind of a math or understanding of cause and effect is understood by even the beast. The beast would always continuously hurt. That's maybe they are sort of like unfortunate until they turn their mind around with some kind of like a great inspiration being born inside of them. They do try to hurt others. And we have seen that a lot in the world. And then there's the consequences. And that consequences is apparent. Apparent in a sense that it hurts them. And the whole world sort of somewhat knows that that's what cause and effect is. It's not like personally somebody is coming after you with a vengeance and with a sense of wanting to punish you or wanting to kind of do some harm because you have done harm to the society or you have done harm to others. So no matter how much one is actually confused, but in the deep down, there is some kind of an understanding of knowing that when actually one has done something wrong, hurtful, that it has consequences to harm yourself and harm you. But when you think you have only done a good work in the world, and you have hold up your good motivations to do a good work in the world, when you think you have served yourself, not as a master, but as a servant of the society or the community, every day and every breath of yours is a prayer to do good in the world, to serve other beings. And then all of a sudden, when one actually feels one is met with some kind of, let's say, loss of loved ones, loss of health, loss of well-being that comes, that is supported by your loved ones and that is supported by your health, or any kind of a loss, then the confusion arises in one's mind. Why is this happening? What is this that is happening to me? And then in this, one feels oftentimes, oh, maybe I have failed in what I intend to do. I have failed to be as good as I could have been. I have failed as strong, particularly as a practitioner. We are all taught to be one way or the other, understanding of facts that are cause and effects. Karma may be not only just immediately karma of this life, seeing things and making the calculations of how this links to that as a cause and effect, but understanding of the karma that actually goes into lifetimes. How about 100 lifetimes you might have done something, and then the cause of that is ripening here now. We are taught as to understand everything is a karma. We are taught to also understand everything is impermanence. Everything changes from moment to moment, 60 to a split of a second, to monthly, yearly lifetimes. We are taught to understand that. We are taught to understand that all things therefore is illusory. Illusory in a sense, dreamlike experience. Illusory in a sense that by its very nature there is no any inherent existence. By its very nature it's emptiness. And in the emptiness there is no change. Now we have heard all of this teachings and which we believed very much so. Which we believed very much so with the ego. Trying to sort of sometimes justify our ego to grow bigger with the knowledge of Dharma. So when actually we feel like we have failed because we are not as strong as we thought, as accepting as we thought, as deeply understanding, not just intellectually understanding, but deeply understanding from the core that makes you stay stable, unshaken. Then we think, oh, we have failed as a Dharma practitioner. And then, a lot of the times, self-doubt comes. A lot of the times, a feeling of maybe perhaps, oh, all that time that I've spent in this way, trying to train myself as a Dharma practitioner, may sort of like have been on some kind of ego trap. All kinds of confusions arises. But in the end result, it's humbling. In the end result, it is shrinking our ego. In the end result, it is making our ego not so as usual able to grow bigger. With the good things, it grows bigger. With the hard times, with the difficult times, it has not that privilege to grow bigger. Yes, of course, it can grow bigger in a sense of resentment. But the resentment hurts. Yes, it can grow with anger, which a lot of people do, but it hurts as well. Yes, it can grow with the confusions and trying to cling more tightly, more wound up in a manner, but it hurts. It hurts even more. So only the choices then that is left there to sort of like a true identity of yourself to be found as a practitioner is let go. And by letting go, it doesn't mean that you become passive. It doesn't mean that you do not do anything to take care of the business of your life as well as your life itself and also your health or your state of mind. You do take care. But nonetheless, there is a sense of a letting go. And this sense of letting go is what I want to actually focus in this link. How that is the true practice. How that is the most important aspect. It's not about controlling your thoughts, manipulating your mind, manipulating your experience and therefore to feel good. It's about by the grace of trusting that letting go of any kinds of holding on to with so much of your self involved in this. It's like a crocodile feeding itself with eating its own tail, and thus growing bigger and bigger and bigger. So for all of us, letting go is very important. And if you let go, a new life begins. If you don't let go, there is not going to be a new life. Because you are hanging on to the old life. You are hanging on to the sense of wanting the old life to be permanent and remain with you. You're not even interested in the new life. You already have rejected the new life by comparing it with the old life and thinking it's not going to be as good. You have not even explored the new life. You have thought the new life, however it could be, wonderful, fresh, different, and so much of more positive things can come from that. I want the old life. That's like a child that is actually already grown out of riding a tricycle and then doesn't want to take off the third wheel and insists on keeping the third wheel. Though the world sees it, you yourself sees it, world knows it, you yourself knows it. But nonetheless, emotionally, with the nostalgia, with a sense of some kind of romanticism of the past, you are holding on to the third wheel. And with the third wheel, you can't travel far. You cannot have all of the life and the fun and the joy, and so as also the what may come with the riding a bicycle with a two wheel. So it's in that way, emotionally, we are not often able to let go, and the letting go therefore is what I want to encourage. Letting go in this way will mean and does mean differently to different people. What it means maybe perhaps to me means very differently to someone like Josh, who are here, Carter, who is 16, the youngest in this crowd. So as also it might mean something different to Marvin Mattis here, who is 82. So it might mean differently, and that is something that we ourselves could only understand. No doctors could tell you what that is. No gurus can tell you what that is. No personal friend can tell you what that is. No professional psychotherapies or coach can tell you what that is. That is the wisdom that is inherently with you. Your life is your life, and you have the critical intelligence, being born as a human being and grew up as a human being with the human intelligence. You have to be able to discern this with yourself. And then when we let go, a new life begins. New adjustment to the life comes to be. And slowly that new life settles in. And as it settles in, it gives us a sense of familiarity, strength, and positive outlook of not the world and life being one way only is positive. There are many lives lived as a human being that with your human attitude of adaptable to new beginning by letting go of the old makes the new life so easy to blossom. Though there may be some adjustment in there, but once a poet said, the pain of opening up yourself that takes place in the process of opening up yourself versus the pain of shutting yourself down and staying shut as in a butt is going to be more painful and more outrageously unnatural. So it's nature that is to move on and move further and move into the new territory, new front, range of life. In this way, life, if we have lived, life has been a fresh moment. Like today's day is a fresh moment, and it's very self-evident how fresh today is in Crestone with all this snow blossom on the trees than the yesterday. So it's like that every day is going to be a different, has been different. And not only that, that is the case in this life, but to approach old age, sickness and death would be also the same. So as also it would be the same with the Bardo transition. So it would be the same also with a new life on the earth or new birth in the celestial realms. It would be the same. So really, fear and anxiety, of course, if it has nothing to do with your mental state and it comes as some kind of an adrenal problem of your body, then of course it's a whole different world, that which happens also. But if it has something to do with your state of mind, then process of letting go is the all that really is the best of the best medicine. to ease one's mind and to ease one's life into the new frontier, into the new world of whatever that world may contain. Now if it is with the physical, then the physical body, as we need to take care of our physical body. No one here on the earth lives without food, without drinking water. We all require food and water to sustain ourselves. Do we say we are addicted to our food because we need to eat to live? So, we don't. So as also we need to take care of ourselves with the physical body. Being a yogin doesn't mean that you ignore physical body. Being a yogin doesn't mean that somehow you make yourself above others to not have to take care of your physical bodies. Thinking that it's a sign that if you take care of your physical body, then you are not being yogi. This is more to do with one's own pride of being yogi, pride of being a practitioner. Thinking that somehow some apex of the great yogins, how they have lived in the past, romanticizing and how you could be that way yourself. So, taking care of one's body. But taking care of one's body also doesn't mean that meanwhile you cannot have this attitude of suckling yourself into letting go. These two can be complementary to one another, and these two really can make a difference to heal oneself, promote a sense of well-being in one's core. So, in the Dharma, confusions may turn into a wisdom, as we say. The great line of the Gopas is, may the confusions turn into a wisdom. What is the confusions? Biggest confusions of the practitioners that I've come to notice in practitioners, including in myself, is that somehow you should know without basis to know. That's outrageous claim. Somebody who doesn't know how to make a small fire, because one has never made a small fire in a fire place, or never made a cup of tea. how to make a cup of nice Indian chai. To think, I must know how to make a fire. Without the basis of knowing, I must know how to make a nice cup of tea. Without the basis of knowing how to make a cup of tea, will put oneself in a sense of being squeezed, cramped, in a situation of putting a lot of pressure on yourself to think that I should know without basis to know. So, a lot of the confusion that circulates in our mind is that kind of confusion. Putting a pressure on oneself to know better without the basis to know. And when the basis is there, and then if you don't know, then maybe you have some deficiency. But if the basis is not there, and then if you do not know, that's not a confusion. That's just lack of hearing wisdom, lack of fundamental wisdom of gathering knowledge. Now, in certain cases, it is easier to gather the information and the hearing wisdom. For example, it is easier to gather the information and the hearing wisdom in the Dharma versus to gather the information and the hearing wisdom about your some kind of a physical condition. Of illnesses. Or a condition of doing something that requires a knowledge outside of your range, like a building a stupa. Now, if one wants to be omniscient without the basis of being omniscient, it makes very difficult. So, humility and humbleness really seems to help. Humility and humbleness brings grace to be gatherer of knowledge. And the knowledge that then comes in day by day, week by week, month by month, makes you more and more informed. And the decisions are much more easier as yours to make. What is a good decision? What is a good course to react in one's life, to do the right things? Now in there is the loved ones. There are people who want to support you, who want you to do well. who feels like if I can exchange my life with a person, I will feel no regret. I love the person that much, or feel so much for the person. But yet at the same time, there is the dilemma of not being able to meet. Not being able to meet because person has too much of a suggestions for you, too much of an ideas for you, too much of an goodwill towards you that you're not able to digest personally. And then it becomes almost a pressure and gap between yourself and your loved ones. Almost the loved one sees you as stubborn, not doing what you're told to do. You're not a child. You're not in a school where actually you're told something and then you must do it. And if you don't do it, then you are a bad student or you are bad character is coming out as being not a good student in the school, listening to the teachers. Or you are not a child of a parents. Saying, clean up your room. And then you are not cleaning up your room. And then you think, oh, this child is getting spoiled. This child is becoming not so formidable as what good things I'm teaching the child is not appreciating, and child is somewhat becoming a stubborn in his or in her ways. Life is not that way. Many of the complexities of the life is not that simple. Complexities of the life, especially old age, especially illness, especially state of the mind that accompanies the old age, and state of the mind that accompanies the sickness, state of the mind that accompanies the death, state of the mind that accompanies the conditions of an lost. It's not that simple. You're told and you get it, and then you are able to perform. So sometimes loved ones should just only love rather than lecture. And listen rather than sort of like be busy being busy fixing it, trying to fix it. All effort is appreciated. But don't want to grow farther and farther and alienate it. So in that way, there is something to really learn and appreciate of ourselves, of being a human being. Each one of us lives in a bubble. This bubble is a wonderful, as long as you could resist the weather, to not have the bubble being popped. Sooner or later, the weather is to come. Sooner or later, the bubble is to be popped. Now, at that time, you as a human being, if you have lived in the bubble, with not being aware of others whose bubbles been popped, of an old age, sickness and death, misfortunes falling on them, losses of all sorts, inflicting pain in them. You have somehow thought your bubble is different. Your bubble is safer, stronger, everlasting, and have not really felt any need to understand human life. With the studying of yourself and studying of others surrounds you. Somehow, if one has not generated compassion, if one doesn't know what it means to be compassionate, to sort of empathize with the others, you have become a cowboy, a lonesome cowboy in the bubble, thinking that you are somehow going to live in your bubble, or if the bubble pops, you will trump all that is a human multiple experiences of having one's bubble popped. Somehow you will be different. I'm not saying that you might not be able to manifest outwardly that way. There are many people who are brave enough, as Shantideva says, to take a sword on your forehead and wear it like an armor, and be proud of yourself being gone into the battlefield and had the sword slashed through your forehead and wear the scar as a armor. But without true genuine sense of patience, without the true genuine sense of love to be patient, love and patience to be compassionate of others, as the Shantideva pointed out, that kind of a braveness is a fool's gold. It's not real gold. So somebody might be able to manifest We have here many stories of a great, brave man and woman who really trumped out how brave and strongly to fight against all odds of suffering and all odds of challenge, and left a legacy behind. Not only a legacy, but something to talk about, as in how brave the person is. One might be able to do that so. But is it worthwhile to do that so for your fame and name, which doesn't affect you at all after this life? Or to be a sincere, honest, genuine human being, to be humble and to be not expected from yourself and not expected from others to be any different than just being sincere, honest, humble human beings. It's better to be from my point of view, a sincere, humble, honest human being than being some heroes. There's a heroes in each of us. And then there's the cowardice in each of us. The balance of the two, being hero and being coward, fearless and fearful, walking on the both sides of the edges to discern which is going to be stronger outcome, a better outcome, and much more of a true and genuine sense of a growth for yourself and the strength of the growth for yourself. That kind of intelligence is what the human beings is gifted. That is different from other programs of the other species. So, to not be somewhat of a naturally programmed and programming yourself, particularly with a certain kind of a pressures, thinking that somehow if I impress others, that's going to give me a lasting legacy, fame and name. Instead of being sincere, honest, genuine human being, and being already in life many times heroes, what the heroes have done of the past, and then many times feeling that you are far from being hero. You are far from being strong. You are far from being stable. Appreciate those experiences as well. And not to be judgmental of yourself. And not to believe others who become judgmental of you. And not to believe that your discernment of which supports you better and suits you better and making the choices of better as far more superior and true wisdom of Dharma than just living on some kind of a superficial life of someone who is not in touch with one's own experiences whatsoever. So in this way, this link, I just want to conclude here, is to really be about letting go, be about fearlessness, be about non-judgmental of oneself, and be about living the life outside of bubble, if one can, and be about being a practitioner rather than being some conceptual notion of what practitioner must do. As always, having some quote that sort of like a forcefully is repeated inside of you, without being able to meet that personally yourself. And then being true to the Dharma, true to the devotion that you feel for the Dharma and for the lineage, and true to being compassionate person in the world, and true to being just who you are, honestly. Simple. So in this way, the new life of the new year. Today is a Chinese New Year. Tomorrow is going to be a Tibetan New Year. I want to welcome the new year of the snake year of the lunar calendar, and nothing happened as far as world coming to an end last year. Just the Mayan calendar has ended, because nothing can go forever and ever and ever, even if it is a calendar. It just ended last year. And last year has been a really great year. And I want to be thankful for the last year. I want to be thankful for all the good things that has happened personally, and for the Sangha, and all the challenges that has happened personally, and hopefully nothing of the challenge and the difficult things that has happened in the world or in the Sangha, I cannot personally thank them because they are experiences of others. But I hope that everybody has grown from it. Grown and become, believe it or not, for sure, the changes have come. And that changes as depending on your attitude could be seen as a growth or could be seen as an opposite of growth. So I want to encourage everybody to see it as a growth, the change that has come. I know here Sarah, Bennett and also Nicholas has lost father and grandfather, Joyce's great-grandfather. I cannot say be grateful for that. But the change definitely has come. And hopefully that change of the loss has deepened all three of them as a human being. And then that deepening that has come from the change, I would like to encourage that to be appreciated, not the loss itself. So as to like that, with all and everyone who is listening, the changes that has come, I'm sure many changes has come in this last year. Some of you may have thought in just 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, my life is over. Or even possibly sooner. And got frightened. Devastations of all kinds of personal attachments has shaken oneself up. Changes came. That has really came to introduce what your mind can be. How that mind can be worked with. And how that mind can take over, or you could settle that mind. So that change could be seen as a deepening and growth, and appreciate that change. Now again, all of a sudden, a new information comes that makes all informations as in a wrong. All informations was false, basis on not any kind of like a clear evidence. And then one can be quite happy. One can be quite joyful. One could be quite free and liberated. Changes have come. But from both we must learn. From both we must learn. And from all that we learn, if we really feel inside what we feel as not in some kind of an estrangement of any human experiences, but genuine human experiences of millions that lives as human beings on this earth. Not in some kind of isolation of thinking, I am only the one who is experiencing this. And therefore to feel connected in that way with others. To same experience, same empathy, and same love, and same compassion. Then I really feel the Dragon Year has been a wonderful Dragon Year. Dragon is outrageous, symbol of outrageousness in Chinese tradition. Soaring high in the sky, overcoming all illusions. So, in that way, we can really celebrate the end of the Dragon Year, and we can celebrate the beginning of the new year, the Snake Year. I want to encourage everyone to be positive. But the positivity is not only in just repeating slogans. Positive is how you look at things with the particular attitude and perspective. There are many of us who are very good in repeating slogans, familiarize many slogans, that is positive. But when it comes to looking at life or aspects of life with the attitude and a perspective, we are sour. So how can person be positive with a sour attitude, with a resentment? But the same person, if it's able to look at that life or the aspects of life of yourself or others with the kindness in one's own mind and in one's own heart, right away that sour attitude or the resentment melts away. And with the attitude of, oh, this is teaching me something. This is deepening me in a way that I've always longed to deepen myself. That is a positive attitude. So how you look at in that way is the positive attitude. So chunam tamje semi dumbitsela rabdu ne, in Tibetan, as there is a saying, all things are made of mind. Mind is made of how you orient yourself. With positive attitude and positive outlook is what I would like to encourage. So I will stop here, and there are many, many good wishes to all of you who are not most probably going to be here with us to celebrate the Tibetan New Year coming tomorrow, but you are going to be celebrating nonetheless in your own life and in your own space and time. So many good wishes and a happy New Year to you all. Thank you.
May it defeat the enemy of wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of earth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may